Rob Vino of Rob Vino Sports and Sports Memo here to take a look at the conference championship games for the NFL today. AFC Championship, the early game, Denver at home against New England. Late game, Carolina Panthers hosting the Arizona Cardinals for the NFC Championship. Let's take a look first at the AFC game here, Denver versus New England. Right now, we see movement and action on this game. New England opened a 3-point favorite. A little bit high on the VIG, minus 115 to attract a little bit of Denver money. Seems to have worked in some spots, not in others. The number is held steady at 3. Right now you can find any variance from 3 minus 4 cents all the way to 3 minus 20, depending upon where you shop, whether offshore or in Las Vegas. Interesting that Las Vegas bookmakers report that for every one Denver Bronco bet that has come in, 10 New England Patriot bets have come in. However, game has stayed on minus 3. Bookmakers fearful of coming off of that 3. We see one offshore 5 dimes, which has moved to 3.5. New England minus 3.5. Get back 105 on that 3.5. If you take the 3.5 with Denver, lay the $1.15. The total, though, has seen a push. It opened 44, made its way to 44.5, and now within the last 30 minutes or so, we see a push in a lot of spots to 45, a very key number in NFL action. Not that 44 isn't, but the difference between 44, 44.5, and then 45 means that heavy money coming in right now on the over. Let's take a look at this game. We have one to look at from earlier in the season, 30-24 Denver victory in overtime. That game saw a lot of absent first-string personnel for both sides. In Denver's case, Brock Osweiler started that game in place of Peyton Manning. In New England's case, they were without a couple of their two top slot receivers, Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola. Today, Manning starting for Denver. All of Tom Brady's receiving corps intact here for today, including Rob Gronkowski, who actually got hurt late in that earlier meeting this season, the overtime victory by Denver 30-24. So Brady with all his weapons available. Denver as healthy as they've been all season. Remember, they did go through some defensive injuries during the season, and that did include some first-string personnel missing from the earlier New England game. I think this one fundamentally sets up pretty clear. You have to score points to beat Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, especially when he has all his weapons at his disposal. I think we saw that last week at home against Kansas City, where there did seem to be points in that game from, let's say, mid-second quarter through the end of the contest where New England's offense just seemed to be unstoppable, and a very, very capable Kansas City defense on the other side of the football that seemed unable to stop the New England offense once it started humming. I know Denver was the number 1 ranked defense statistically in the NFL this season. The Broncos by no means are a lockdown, shutdown defense. They were the number 1 ranked defense this year, but they are not in the mold of a Baltimore Ravens style defense in 2000, of a Chicago Bears style defense. They are the best in the NFL, like I say, statistically, but not shut down by any means. And I think the greater point here is that the significance between, or in the gap between the Denver defense and their capabilities and the Kansas City defense and their capabilities is not that wide. Kansas City is a very, very strong defense, good pass rushing, good linebacker play, good secondary play, and New England was able to really own that defense last week, put up 27 points. Could have been more, in all honesty. So coming here to Denver this week, you have to believe that Tom Brady and his offense are going to score their share of points. The question is, can Denver match Tom Brady and the New England Patriots on the scoreboard? And with the injuries that New England has in the linebacking core, Jamie Collins will play, Dante Hightower will play. Hightower, of course, with the knee. Collins, the more substantial injury here, the more concerning injury. His back has people wondering how long he'll even last in this game, but Collins certainly a key component in that defense, and if he is hindered on the field. If he has to leave the field because of injury here today, certainly that opens things up for Denver. Chandler Jones, the top pass rushing defensive end, will play for the Patriots. Another guy who's been hurt, but I think the linebacking core is the big deal here, and I do think that Peyton Manning and the Broncos offense, despite what we saw last week, will be able to move the football on New England here this week. Very, very interesting matchup between what looked like a pedestrian, I think that's putting it mildly, a pedestrian-style offense against the Steelers last week in the Denver Broncos. And I think that'll be upgraded this week. Manning should be able to find open seams in that Patriot pass defense. He did have a lot of drop balls on him last week. His statistical performance would have been a lot better, and Denver's offensive performance might have been a lot better with some catches made on very catchable balls last week in their game against Pittsburgh. I think what we have to note here is that last week in Foxborough, when Hightower and Collins started to feel the effects of their injuries and in fact left the field in the second half, Kansas City really started to put up yardage. KC had 5 second-half possessions in that contest last week. 2 of those 5 wound up in 80-yard touchdown drives. The Chiefs posted 225 total yards in the second half of that game last week. And I think that it is a big deal where those injuries to Hightower and Collins are concerned. Expect Denver to look a lot better offensively here in this game. The weather conditions are fine. It brings us to the point of how to play this one. Like I say, at 45, the total is moving up. -3 for the Patriots. The game is probably a field goal type game. Maybe we have to look at first or second half action in this one. Line here, New England 2.5 for the first half. You can find them anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5, and a total anywhere from 21.5 to 22.5. So whatever you like, please be sure to shop and get the best number on that game. Not really sure which way I would lean here in this contest. New England certainly, like I say, an offensive juggernaut, could cause Denver trouble despite having the top defense in the league. And on the other side of that coin, I think Denver's offense could cause some trouble for New England and their banged-up defense. So we'll see. Should be a very interesting game. Best advice here is whichever way you like, please do shop and get the best number. There's such a wide variance of numbers available in this contest. You're going to want to look and get the best no matter whether you're on the New England side, the Denver side, or the over or under side of this contest. Maybe wait till halftime, survey the situation, and maybe make a second half play. But this should be a very interesting game. Winner, of course, goes to the Super Bowl. We'll see how it turns out. But as we look at it right now, New England sits -3 with a total of, it's about even now, 44.5 and 45.